Yes. You thought I'd never come back. You thought that I was gone forever. You thought that I had retired. You thought that I had buried my Shure SM58 microphone that I'm using right now. Yes, I'm using that. You thought I'd buried it in my backyard like a dog buries a bone, but unlike a dog, I wouldn't be trying to retrieve that bone later for enjoyment. I'd just be burying that microphone for good, for future generations to find and wonder to themselves, what is this device? Because it looks so foreign to them. It'd be like us finding something like a plow from the 1700s, because you thought that I was done with Wax's podcast. Well, let me tell you something. I wasn't. I was gone for a long time. I was gone for almost a month. I think I was gone for 3 weeks, but I'm back. I'm here, and I am ridiculously full. You know what I just did? I just went to I'm not going to tell you the full extent of what I did, but I went to Denny's. And I ate way too much food. I just did that. Goddamn, you're not going to hear this reverb go down when you actually listen to this, but I get this reverb cranked up. But when you hear it, you're not going to hear me turning it down right now, because I'm going to leave it cranked up since the beginning. I mean, cranked down? What the fuck? My point is, I just got back from Denny's. It's 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I just ate way too much food at Denny's, and I can't even get up off this chair. I need to take a break from eating junk food, shitty food, drinking, smoking, all that. I need another health break, y'all. I haven't done one of my health breaks in a long time. It's getting to be that time. There's something about maple syrup, too, man. I was just watching a documentary the other day. There's a documentary currently on Netflix called Fed Up. I would recommend it. It's yet another, like, food is evil documentary. I mean, how many of those are they going to make? You got The Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Food Inc. Food Matters or something like that. There's all kinds of shit on Netflix and otherwise about how evil the food industry, how unhealthy the food we eat, especially here in America, Super Size Me, things like that. But this one was great. It's called Fed Up, and it's basically just talking about how since the 1950s, the obesity problem in America has doubled. But what people don't know, this isn't the main thing about the story, but it was part of it. What people don't realize is also the amount of Americans that exercise regularly has also doubled. So what does that tell you, folks? The problem is the food. And the specific problem in the food we eat is sugar. You know, people didn't used to eat this much sugar way back when human beings started. And the amount of sugar we consume in processed foods on a regular basis is like some shit like 12 times what we're supposed to consume. So the reason I brought that up is because I just ate a bunch of maple syrup. Syrup? What's the appropriate way to say that? Hey, Kenny, Larry, what's the appropriate way to say syrup? Is it syrup or syrup? It's syrup. No, it's syrup. It's syrup. See, even the people that are here in my studio with me can't even decide what the appropriate pronunciation is. I bet you Canadians know. I bet you a Canadian would know. Any Canadian listeners, I'm really late on my email, so hit me on Twitter or make a comment on wax.com.com/podcast, the podcast section where I post the shit. Tell me how to pronounce syrup. And since it's in type form, use the actual way that, in dictionaries when it actually has like that little fucking key of how to pronounce a word, and you can't understand that shit anyway. Is it syrup or syrup? Or SERP, Siznurp. I ate a lot of maple syrup within the last hour. I'm not saying a gallon. I'm not saying a teaspoon. Somewhere in between. And I can just feel it sitting in my stomach and hardening like a fucking lollipop. Like a lollipop. But you know how like a lollipop is essentially... I mean, I don't know what a lollipop is. I don't know how to make a lollipop, but I imagine that it's like flavored sugar syrup hardened somehow. I don't know what technique they use to harden it. I don't know if they use extreme heating or extreme cooling or none of the above. I don't know if they put it in a cast and then use dry ice and then refilter it as they homogenize it, and pasteurize it. I don't know how to make a lollipop, but I know that if you had maple syrup, you could probably turn it into a lollipop with that process, whatever that process is, and you'd end up with something like a sugar daddy, or is it a sugar baby? There's two candies, a sugar baby and a sugar daddy. One of them is like a fucking the size of an M&M, and one of them is like a rectangular lollipop. The one that's a rectangular lollipop, which is I'm gonna assume, since it's daddy and baby, that the daddy is the lollipop and the baby is the little one that just tastes like a. If an M&M didn't taste like chocolate, it just literally tasted like sugar. But that sugar daddy lollipop, if you could make something like that out of maple syrup that would just taste like maple syrup, and I feel like that's what's going on in my stomach right now. And I just want to go to sleep. I just want to not stand up. I want to take off my belt. I want to commit suicide, quite honestly. But I can't. Because if I killed myself, who would do the podcast this week? You probably thought I was dead already. Missed it 3 weeks in a fucking row. You probably thought Wax's podcast was gone forever, but no. No, and lo and behold, it's back. What do I got to talk about this week? A couple interesting things happened. First of all, my album is pretty much done. It's being mixed right now. All the songs are done. It's just being mixed, and I'm shooting music videos. I did put out, since I'd done my last podcast, I put out not really a music. Yeah, I was going to say not really a music video per se. Sorry about that. Not really a music video I put out. I had to put out a video called No Smoking in the House, which was just like which was just rapping in my studio. Kind of like a live one take of just a bunch of freestyle. It wasn't actually freestyle. It was preconceived, pre-memorized rap bars. And if you didn't see the story with that, y'all, let me tell you the story. I put up that video a couple weeks ago, and it was up for like 4 or 5 days. It got a pretty good amount of views. It got like 60,000 views, which now is a lot. Back when I was doing YouTube a few years ago, it wouldn't have been that much. But in this day and age, with the competition and the way your subscribers don't mean as much, and the new YouTube algorithms and blah bitty blah bitty blah, 60,000 was a pretty good amount of views. And then all of a sudden, one day after like 4 days, lo and behold, which I say on this podcast way too much, the video is not up there anymore. And I come to find out the reason that YouTube had taken my video down was because of some of the tags I put in the description of the video were considered commercially deceptive. Now, if you guys have been watching my YouTube videos for a long time, you know that one of the things I've always done is me and my brother, when we put up the YouTube video, back in the day there was a section called tags that was actually separate from the description that you could see. And if you had a video of you rapping, you might put like wax, herbal, tea, hip-hop, rap, freestyle, battle, and then you might even name some other rappers. You might be like Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, Eminem, Tupac. Maybe name some battle rappers, and just a bunch of stuff that, like, if people were interested in this stuff, they would be interested in your video. People would always do that strategically, and I don't know why I always go, but people would do that strategically, and we would do that, but we would always add some dumb shit to the end of our tags, like some silly, usually vulgar, sometimes strange, and just unorthodox shit to the end of our tags. So this time I did that, and I just made a list of a bunch of random stuff. It was like, I don't remember, it was like anal dildos, giraffe food, sorbet recipes, parkour lessons, Disney movies. And what happened was, I guess either somebody at YouTube or some type of robot that kind of, a bot that goes around and just searches stuff, found probably Disney movies or Taco Bell or something like that. Crest toothpaste was another thing I put on there. They found those words in the description, and they found out that the video had nothing to do with those things. So they just instantly took off the video, and I can't blame them. I can't blame them. I've been doing research on this, and YouTube has really been cracking down on people posting shit like that. It's just like when you get a spam email or something like that. Like if Disney's paying YouTube to put their ads on their videos, and then somebody clicks on a thing that because they're interested in Disney and they get something else, and Disney puts the ad on the wrong video or whatever. You know, they're losing money just because I made these stupid shit. I just wish they would have like warned me before I taken it down. Anyway, what sucks is I spent the last couple of days, and it really took a long time because I have a lot of YouTube videos. I spent the last couple of days, unfortunately, going through every single video that I've ever put up, and I had to take out all the tags. So that's no more. It is the end of an era for Wax and Herbal Tea YouTube. We started our page in 2007. I think YouTube started in like 2006 or 2005 maybe. I think we started our YouTube page in 2006 or 2007. And, ever since the beginning, I think since the beginning, maybe a couple videos in we didn't do any stupid tags, but we did this tags, and if you look at them, I actually saved all the tags for my own posterity and records. If you look at them, it kind of gets worse and worse as time goes on. But now they're all deleted. I took them all out because the last thing I want is like one of the videos I put up 5 years ago that I really liked that other people like to be taken down after it has fucking millions of views because I put, hippopotamus gets anally whatever I put on there. We put all this dumb shit. Like, and it actually got to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. Like if you look at the place where the text edit document where I saved all the tags, there's a lot of stuff that, like, not on purpose, but there's a lot of them that kind of sound like repeats, I mean, how often, like, it was usually like a random animal, such as, it was almost like that South Park episode where they were making fun of Family Guy, and it made Family Guy almost just seem like a Mad Lib of random stuff. It was like, almost everyone was like, insert a weird animal, like a rhinoceros, then insert a bodily fluid, like vomit or cum or piss, and then insert like something that you do with it, you know what I mean? And then insert like a person in your life that you would throw that on or something like that. It was just all pretty ridiculous. So honestly, it's time for a new beginning. It's time for a new beginning. Not only on the Wax and Herbal Teas YouTube, but here on Wax's podcast. But yeah, so that happened, and I put the video back up. It doesn't have that many views, but I think it's good. It's 6 minutes of straight rap, and people that enjoy the stuff that I do, that's kind of just like, yo, I'm good at rapping, kind of rap, seem to like it. So, we'll see if they like the rest of my album. They will find out very soon if they do choose to listen to it. I've been shooting music videos for that. Like I said, I got one that I'm really excited about. I think it's gonna be my own personal favorite music video from the album. Yeah, like I told you guys on the last podcast, I've been doing some stand-up comedy. Since I talked to you guys last, I've probably done 2 or 3 open mic nights, which have gone okay. All my friends that do stand-up professionally always make sure to tell you, like, look, when you do these little depressing-ass open mic nights in Los Angeles, there's tons of them. There's like 7 of them you could go to every night, and some of them are at like 6 p.m. You go in there, and it's just 15 people that are all starting comedians, looking at their notebooks or iPods. Why do I keep saying iPods? Nobody uses a fucking iPod anymore. When I say iPod, I mean iPhone. But there's just 15 to 20 people going through their notes on their notebook or their iPhone, getting ready to go do their 3 minutes of comedy. Most people have problems. They're depressed looking. They're there alone. They look disheveled. They're not attractive. Keep in mind, y'all, I'm not dissing. I'm putting myself in this category. I'm right there with them. I'm one of these 15 people that's in there in this depressed environment that probably has had suicidal thoughts within the last 72 hours of being there. I'm just kidding. But But yeah, some of these open mic nights are depressing, and when you get up there and you're going up in front of 15 people who are also trying to do comedy themselves, whether they laugh or not is not necessarily an indication of whether your joke was funny. Because it's a big difference, and I know a lot of you are thinking, yeah, fucking tell yourself that. But I've been to comedy shows where, you go out at night, you're there with your girlfriend, you've been working all day, you pay money at the door, you have a couple of drinks, and the whole reason you're there is to have fun, have a good time, laugh at the comedians. And it's a very different story than when you go to these open mic nights at 6 o'clock and people are drinking a coffee and they're not even barely paying attention to you. And when they do, they're just judging you compared to them. It's just, my point is, you can't use these open mic nights as a way to judge your jokes. That being said, there are certain things that they're helpful with. You can be more comfortable. And I would argue that being in these weird environments like that actually improves your performance even more than being in front of a receptive crowd, because it's just more awkward and nerve-wracking in a sense to go up there and say shit and nobody really reacts. But if you can get people just to pay attention, I think that's important. If you're saying things that are true and things that are interesting, which hopefully I am, we'll see. I got my little showcase in front of a regular ass audience coming up in like a week. So we'll see how that goes. I'll inform you guys as to how that goes when it's done. I'm not going to tell you when it is. I'm not going to tell people that are fans of my music or even fans of this podcast. I'm not going to tell you guys when I'm going to do comedy until I feel like I'm at least decent at it. And I don't see how that could possibly happen for at the very least, a solid 6 months from now, if not 2 years from now. Because it takes a while to get good at stuff, y'all. I'm not starting from the complete bottom, I don't think. I've had years and years and years of experience being in front of crowds, holding microphones. I say stories and I say sort of jokes in front of large crowds, and I rip on people. I have dealt with many hecklers, so I have a leg up on people that are just starting comedy. But when it comes to comedic timing and joke writing and saying the same thing every night in the right way to get people to laugh, and you don't realize, y'all, these people that do comedy, like a lot of times, like 1 or 2 words and 1 or 2 pauses makes all the difference. So I'm not telling y'all motherfuckers when I'm doing comedy. Maybe the podcast listeners, I'll give y'all a heads up here and there. Most of you guys aren't in Los Angeles anyway, so it won't matter. But I might give you guys a heads up in a couple months if I start feeling like I'm all right. Because as soon as that happens, I'll start being terrible and bombing. And either way, whether I'm good or bad, it will be enjoyable for you. So that's where I'm at with my little comedy shit. Hopefully in a couple years, I'll have a show. I want to do a special where I do some material, then a song about the material, then some material, then a song about the material, on some like Bo Burnham type of shit, but more like hip hop in a way. Not really even in a way, just more hip hop, period. But yeah, I'm working on tons of shit, y'all. Working on new songs, working on new raps. I've been working like crazy. That's what that in the last few weeks, honestly, the reason the podcast hasn't been getting done is mostly because I've been working hard. And I need to step my game up in general, y'all. I feel like my mouth is mad dry right now. I don't know if it's because I just ate at Denny's. I don't know why I think all the sugar in my body, hold up. I think all the sugar in my body absorbed all of the liquid in my body. I think right now my stomach, the maple syrup lollipop that I mentioned earlier, is actually somehow sucking out all the water from the rest of my body. That's why my mouth and lips are really dry. And it's actually not creating a lollipop. It's just making more like a molasses lake in my stomach, which is like, my stomach is a lake made out of half molasses and half like, when you go to a lake and it's kind of like halfway frozen and you'll see like little ice islands, like miniature ice islands that are kind of floating and bouncing up and down. Like if it was in the Arctic, you might see like a polar bear or some penguins standing on one, and it almost looks like they're standing on a raft and it's moving with the water. Picture that ice thing, except instead of ice, it's a small piece of pancake. And instead of water, it's watered down molasses maple syrupy kind of liquid. And instead of a penguin or a polar bear, it's like a little bacon bit. That's what's in my stomach right now. And that's why I can't get up. A lot of times when I do the podcast, I'm walking around the room, I'm ranting, I'm raving, I'm excited, I'm talking about something. But right now, the bottom half of me hasn't moved a centimeter since I've started this podcast. Maybe more, maybe a centimeter, but not much more than that for sure. I had a little list of stuff, but you know the list that I had written down of stuff that I was going to talk about on the podcast was something I wrote down last week when I was supposed to do the podcast and didn't. So I had the YouTube video story, album talk, open mic night, which I kind of already talked about. I was going to talk about how depressing it was. Oh, Kurt's show. There's not really much to say about that. My boy Kurt, who plays bass in my band, is actually in another band now too. And I haven't been touring, and his other band's been touring like a motherfucker. There was a band that was really, not really popular, but kind of popular in the 90s called Head P.E. And he's in that band right now. And we went down to Costa Mesa, which is like Orange County, right around, sort of near Disneyland. And me and a bunch of my friends went down there and watched his band play last week. And it was a really, really fun time. But I think the reason that I wanted to talk about it was because it was kind of shocking. I'm always shocked by the following. Really hardcore mosh pits. This was like a little club. It was like the club was split in half. One half was a sports bar and the other half was like a rock and roll venue. And the rock and roll venue probably let's say sold out, packed together would probably be 200 people, maybe, yeah, something like that. The whole venue probably is 500. And the venue, if you were just considering the venue part, you could probably smash 200 people in there. And this place was pretty packed. But it seemed even more packed because the whole center of it was this mosh pit. And I just can't believe sometimes how violent these mosh pits are. And it's just accepted that you punch people in the face, you run through it. There was one guy there. He was the biggest motherfucker in the mosh pit, this real tall. Everybody was shirtless, kind of like more like a metal crowd. Shirtless, tattoos, shaved heads, long hair, and you just run. This big ass dude, and there was girls in the mosh pit. He didn't give a fuck. He was elbowing girls in the face. He would just run through and just spin around like he was square dancing or river dancing wildly, and just hold his elbows out. And then, you know, as he spun fast and fast and fast, he was almost like a human egg beater. Like if you were to hold an egg beater vertically, and his arms were kind of like the beater. And, you know, it's well named. It's a really good simile in that sense because he was beating. He was beating the shit out of people. And it was, it's shocking to me. I never really relate. Like when I was young, I was into going to shows more. I definitely went to shows where there were mosh pits and I would jump around, and I definitely understand the concept of crowd surfing. I used to do that and that was fun, but that kind of moshing where there's a pit and people are really like punching each other and it's essentially fighting, and you see like somebody will get hit and you'll see them have that rage and they'll come at the other person that hit them, and they kind of sort of fight, but then they're like okay with it, sort of, but sort of not. I just don't understand that kind of rage. I don't understand that kind of aggression. Maybe I'm just getting older and I've grown out of it. You know, I can't even listen to metal music anymore. I used to like it, but I can't listen to it anymore. I don't have the angst. I don't have the rage. I think it's silly. But yeah, just want to talk about that. But they killed it though. Kurt is an amazing showman. And the guy, I feel like a dick because I fucking fuck. What was his name? The only original member of this band. I mean, this band predates Limp Bizkit in that era of kind of like rap rock. This was like rap rock when like Cypress Hill was out. And just to show you what I mean, the lead singer of this band, who was the only like original OG member, he was 51 years old. And if you would have seen this guy sing and seen this guy perform and seen the energy and seen the way he could use his voice, first of all, you would know he's a pro who's been doing it for a long time. And second of all, you'd be like, God damn, I can't believe this guy's 51 years old. So, it just goes to show you that if, music's forever, man. If you affect somebody, they'll come back 20 years later and they'll sing the song they heard 20 years ago. And they'll be happy to see you, People always talk about how, I hope when I'm 50, I'm not doing that. Or I can't believe he's 50 and still rapping. The older you get, the more you realize that's beautiful that he's still doing that. I love seeing it when old people are still making music or doing comedy or doing acting or doing whatever that they love to do. What are they supposed to do what are they supposed to do? What switch are they supposed to make? You know what I mean? But yeah. That is if they love it. I'm sure there's some people out there that are doing it to get a check. I know for a fact some people, for example, they were in boy bands or girl groups or even going back as far as a disco act or somebody from the 70s. There's a lot of acts from that era that now do the casino circuit, like the Indian casinos here in California or in the Midwest or up in Connecticut. And then there's like the county, that circuit kind of goes right in line with like the county fair circuit. You might see the Temptations with one original Temptation and then like 3 newer guys. And it's like, it's the same argument there. It's like, well, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? Fucking be used car salesmen now just because you deem that they're too old to be singers? But some of those guys aren't necessarily happy with what they're doing. Or same being said with, maybe the guy that was the singer in Kurt's band, maybe he's happy with it. And maybe that's partially because like it's really his band. Like you could tell that he takes a lot of pride in his band, and his band is almost like the way of getting his message to the public. But, if you're the bass player and you're turning 50 and you're in a van and you got a wife and kid at home and you got to leave for 2 months and you're still barely covering your bills, maybe it's not a labor of love for you anymore. It's different for everybody. But for this dude that was singing in this band, it clearly was a labor of love, and I thought it was a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of those guys still have that. I think some of those like Mick Jagger and dudes like that, granted it probably doesn't hurt that they're getting $1 gazillion and playing stadiums and shit, but goddamn, how many times do they really want to play fucking Start Me Up, If you start me up, I'll never stop. Like, how many times can you sing that in your life, man? He really will never stop once you started him up, Mick Jagger, he's like a fucking wind-up toy. Once you start him up, he'll never stop until he stops winding. That's a metaphor for death. Yeah. Did I have anything else on that list? I don't think so. What do I got going on? I got a lot of shit going on, y'all. What you guys might not realize is that I'm extremely busy right now. I'm doing mad meetings. I'm taking meetings right now, y'all. You don't think I fucking take meetings, because usually I don't. But when I have an album coming out, all of a sudden, old Wax is out there in Hollywood talking the talk, talking to people, talking to the corporate world. Because you got to have you got to have help. You got to have people on your team. There's people out there that can help you. There's people out there that can work with you. There's people out there that can get your music heard. There's people out there who can help you out, y'all. And I'm not talking about Coca-Cola. I'm not talking about the United States Army. I'm not talking about Al-Qaeda. I'm talking about people in the music industry, y'all. Not in the major music industry, but there's a lot of independent shit going on right now. It's a really interesting time in music. I don't know if you guys heard, but Apple is now, June 30th, they're launching Apple Music, which is basically like their version of Spotify. And it will be very interesting to see what happens in the next few months. I'll tell you what probably will happen is ain't a motherfucker going to be buying music. Everybody's going to be streaming music, which is fine because, artists get paid for that. I think it's the perfect, to be honest with you, I think streaming services like Spotify and this Apple shit that's supposed to come out, who knows how well it will compete with Spotify. I'm sure Spotify is scared because Apple can kind of really lead you in the direction they want to. Facebook should have came out with that. Facebook could own everything if they wanted to. But I think it's a perfect middle ground, Another good documentary on Napster. On Netflix is the one about Napster, especially if you're into the music industry. I'd recommend that one. But yeah, the way that when the internet first became popular, people figured out that everybody could get music for free, and that's essentially because the people on the tech side of things are always a little bit ahead of the people on the music side of things. So music finally caught up a little bit, and there's really this middle ground between buying music and getting it for free, which is essentially what Netflix is for movies. You pay a monthly fee, and you stream the shit when you want. All the music lives on the cloud, and then you can just go listen when you want. I think it's a good middle ground, y'all. I know people complain because you don't get paid as much, but you know what? It doesn't cost as much to get your music out there. It's easier to get your music out there. The downside is there's fucking too much music out there. It used to suck that there was this ultimate filter, which was the record labels, but now there's no filter. Anybody can go to make a song and put it on iTunes, and now bam, you're competing with Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Jay-Z. It's all on the same goddamn website that everybody gets it from. So that's my thing is there's too much music out there. People are putting music out before they're good enough to be putting music out. But yeah, it's an interesting time in the music biz. There's a lot of different shit going on. I've been taking meetings with people, seeing if anybody can help me out, seeing what's going to happen with my shit. I got a lot of plans, y'all. I got a lot of plans. Big plans. I got this album. Bam! I got mad videos I'm making. Bam! I'm working on another album. What? Doing comedy. Hey. I'm working on writing songs for possibly other people to use. Hey! I am hopefully doing another project with EOM. Hopefully doing another project with my brother. I got a project that's already done with some other people. Who knows what will happen with that? Me and Davey's side project has been done for a long time. I'm just waiting to put out my shit for a little bit, then to put that out. And yeah, what the fuck else you want me to tell you? I've been working, y'all. Been in the studio, in the laboratory. I need a vacation. I'm going to wait for a little while. This is what I need to do. I need to get these videos done. Get this album out. Try to let people know about this album. Try to do some kind of promotional shit. That's why I've been having these meetings. Just me sending a tweet ain't good enough, man. Me sending a tweet and posting it on my Facebook is just not good enough, y'all. There's too many people out there. There's not enough people that are seeing it. I think a lot of people would enjoy this stuff, and I think the more people that enjoy it, the more chance I have of never having to go work at Denny's and serve people fucking 6 pounds of syrup so they can go home and just sit on a chair. That's my goal in life, is to not have to work at Denny's. Nothing. If you were listening and you work at Denny's, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I'm saying I bet you have dreams. I bet you have dreams just like I did when I worked at places like that. Because I did. I worked at McDonald's. I worked construction. I did landscaping. I worked in retail. I worked at Domino's delivering pizza. I worked at a deli delivering sandwiches. I worked at a delivery grocery store delivering groceries. I worked as a courier delivering various things. I worked as a mortgage banker in an office trying to rip people off right before the financial crisis. I worked as an assistant in an electrical engineering office. I worked for a summer at a nursery, not with kids, but with plants, watering plants and fucking putting mulch into people's trucks. I did hotel software tech support for like 7 or 8 months. I did, what other job? I had a bunch of jobs, y'all. More restaurant stuff. Short stints as a server. In high school, I actually worked for 2 years at a Chinese restaurant as a server. So don't fucking tell me that I don't know what it's like. I know what it's like to have a dream, and I know what it's like to be at work thinking about your dream. And now I've sort of achieved that dream. Don't get me wrong. You'll never think it's enough. No matter what, people, you will never, ever think it's enough. There's not going to be I meet people out here all the time that haven't achieved this fucking goal that they want. And what they don't know is when they get that record deal, when they get that big part in the movie, when they film that special, when they put out their next album, it's still not going to be good enough, even if it exceeds all your wildest expectations that were in place in the first place. It's human nature. It's never good enough. That's why the motherfucking, the Buddhist monks, you don't yearn for stuff. You live in the moment, and you just try to achieve fucking peace through meditation. I don't know. That seems crazy, too. There's no right answer. All right. Too much syrup in my fucking body, y'all. Let me go to these questions and shoutouts. All right. I haven't even pulled up the questions and shoutouts yet. I just got sidetracked for a second. I haven't read this article yet, but yes, I still have Yahoo Mail, motherfuckers. I went to Yahoo. I feel like recently I've been getting even more shit from all over the place about having a Yahoo Mail account. And my response to you is like, I mean, I haven't changed my phone number either. I want people to be able to reach me. I have a friend, Jay, who used to always change his email address because he just he's like, I don't know if Jay or JJ or whatever he wanted to be. He'd always change his fucking email address, and guess what? You'd email him, and a week later, he'd be like, I never got your email. I changed my email address, and it's like, that's not my fault. That's your fault. And I don't want to change my email address in case somebody has to reach me. If that means I have to stay at Yahoo and look like uncool or whatever it is to have a Yahoo Mail, then so be it. My point is, I went to check my my Yahoo Mail for the questions and shout-outs that I had went through my Gmail account, which I do have, thank you, Beats for Wax at Gmail, which is the podcast email. But I go through that, and I go through all the questions, I reply to people, and I I collect the shout-outs, and then I send it to my Yahoo account, all in one place. But when I went to yahoo.com, alas, a story that was on the front page caught my eye, as it often happens. As often happens, Bill Clinton says he will stop giving paid speeches if Hillary wins. Denver, Reuters. Bill Clinton said on Wednesday he would no longer give paid speeches if his wife, Hillary Clinton, is elected U.S. president. Republicans and media commentators have criticized both Clintons for earning millions of dollars for paid speeches, saying the practice raises the possibility of conflicts of interest. The only reason I even brought this up is because first of all, I think it's fucking ridiculous if Hillary Clinton becomes a president when her fucking husband was the president, just like I think it's ridiculous that George Bush became president when his fucking dad was the president. You cannot tell me this is a democracy when we have husband and wife and father and son, and now possibly even another brother of that son becoming the president. That's not a democracy, y'all. If you think it is, they have you completely 100% fooled. All right, this whole system is ridiculous. If you can't see past the lines, and if you can't see past the way that they brainwash us, myself included, I ate at fucking Denny's today and then loved it. I'm brainwashed just as bad as any of you are. You should watch that maybe I watch too many documentaries, but if it's just obvious that the rich and the powerful have most of us in check. And what are they going to do? They're going to keep going. And they've somehow managed to make, and I know I've brought this up on the podcast a lot, but they've somehow managed to successfully make most of the poor people think that the problem is the other poor people. That's the problem. So, they've tricked us, y'all. They fucking tricked us. But anyway, let me see if I can click on my mail here. Oh, shit. What is this guy talking about? Hey. Oh, come on, internet. Come on, internet. More like outernet. Am I right? Because it's out. Come on, dude. Oh, bad timing, internet. Bad timing. Wait, what's going on here? What the fuck is this shit? Things that make you go, Speaking of old references. Why is this thing just not working? I'm sure this is a really interesting part of the podcast right now, me saying all this stupid shit. Let me get this podcast thing going here. What the fuck am I even rambling about? How long can I just say things like this? What the fuck? Did I delete it? Hold on. There it is. All right. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, y'all. Sorry. Shoutouts. Daniel the Trojan Horse. Teddy O and SD. Ryan C. from Dublin. A producer named Tacos. That's T @C O Chris M. in Michigan. What's up, Chris? Dre's from New Jersey and his band Living Time Machines. Regina SK Canada. Now, I'm not sure if that means Regina SK from Canada, but I'm pretty sure that means either Saskatchewan or Saskatoon, Canada. I'm not sure which one, but I think she meant that. It could be just Regina SK from Canada. TJL. Chris T from Montreal. Waldo. I got, excuse me, trying to get this parched feeling out of my fucking mouth so I won't start going like that every 5 seconds. I can just hear it. It's that compression, you know. Ham.max, that's all cap, HAM.MAX, no spaces, from Denmark. That's how he wanted to be shouted out. We got Sketch the Bottom Feeder in Houston, Texas. Skeevious Tips from Toronto. Luke from the UK. And we got Sully. All right, recommendations. Got a few recommendations this week. Anthony from Kego Harbor, Michigan recommends Bliss and Esso. That is an Australian rap group. I listened to a little bit of the link he sent me, but I didn't get the chance to listen to it all. It sounded pretty good. Heskey, he recommends Odyssey, Oddisee, from the DC area. Familiar with Odyssey? I like his shit a lot. Very good at both rapping and producing. Keenan from England recommends the producer New Jobbies. Probably, for some strange reason, New Jobbies, it's probably one of the most heavily recommended artist in Wax Podcast history for some reason. I don't know why. But people, I mean, I'm not saying I don't know why. I mean, he's great, but it just seems random to me. Also, Keenan from England recommends the movie Whiplash. Dominic O recommends the Stones Throw documentary on Netflix. Stones Throw being a great record label, originally home to people such as Jay Dilla, Madlib, MF Doom. Now home to Mayer Hawthorne, Who had Aloe Black for a while. Has a duo called No Worries with Anderson .Paak and the producer Knowledge, who was fucking dope. They have all these a bunch of other like weirdo LA acts that were okay sometimes, and some of them were not that great. But the reason I know all this is because I watched the documentary, and I would agree with Dominic O that it was great. And last but not least, on the recommendation tip, we got Grant C. He recommends Instrumentally Unstable by Will Is Chillin'. I don't know much about Will Is Chillin', but I know that Grant C recommends Instrumentally Unstable. I didn't get an actual chance to listen to that, so I apologize, Grant C. And I apologize to you if you follow Grant C's recommendation and it is terrible. If that's not the case, if Will Is Chillin' is an amazing recommendation, I fully stand by what Grant C said. And I was lying when I said I never heard it. I actually listened to it all the time, and I've always thought it was amazing, and I was just fucking with you. This first email, I really enjoyed reading this first email. You guys have been listening for a while. This email is from Pharaoh M. I met Pharaoh M at a show in Austin. He gave me his, he's a rapper. He gave me his CD. And it was really, really great, man. And since then, he sent me emails, and I would argue that Pharaoh M is kind of a free spirit kind of cat. Young dude, 21 years old. And I just thought, and you know, he had hit me up a few times about trying to go on tour, as people often do when they email me for the podcast, trying to get advice for all kinds of music industry shit. How do I book shows? How do I make music? How to blah blah blah. But you know, Pharaoh has a really good cross between like a free spirit and a go-getter. And I just thought this was a cool email. Pharaoh M. Once during a podcast, you spoke about artists who've never played for crowds who have no idea who they are. I will have you know that was literally what our entire tour was like. We played 30 shows that we put together ourselves in like 40 days. Sorry. Then spent an additional 20 days in New York City. I walked to 1520 Sedgwick in the South Bronx through the freezing snow all by myself on Valentine's Day. I saw Africa Bambaataa spin records. I rode the subway to nowhere while listening to Illmatic. And so much more. I feel pretty proud to have done all this as an independent 21-year-old human being. I had a great time in NYC. As a Texas kid, NYC was mind-blowing. I sold out of merch, which was dope as fuck because it funded the entire trip and then some. Met a lot of cool human beings and all around had the time of my life. Figured I'd share that with you. Winning strangers by ripping microphones is a great feeling. Now that I'm back in Austin, I've really been focused on finishing my new album and advancing with production. You inspired me to pick up guitar about a year ago, and I'm finally starting to show some ability. Anyway, I'll keep this brief and end it there. Can't wait to hear your new shit. I always tune in. I was listening even while traveling. Peace, Wax. P.S. Thanks for shouting out the tour and my music on the podcast. It led to people actually coming out and some really awesome messages. Pharaoh M. Now that that really warms the old heart of old Wax up here. That I thought that was amazing, man, and I think that you guys should learn something from the words in that email, man. Not only he came back and he was focused, and he's making music and he's doing what he loves. But he went out there. He booked his shows. You gotta fucking, booking shows isn't easy as an independent artist. You gotta somehow convince them. You gotta come up with damn near schemes to get people to let you play. You gotta find open mic nights. You gotta find coffee shops. You bring some CDs, bring some T-shirts. Save money. Don't, find somebody's couch to sleep on. Sleep in your car some nights. Do what you gotta do. But, it sounds like Pharaoh was actually able to make... it sounds like he was able to make a little bit of profit on it, but to even break even on a tour like that is fucking incredible. So, if you can, if you're an aspiring, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. If you're an aspiring musician or an aspiring anything, you should be able to take some kind of inspiration from that. And I really appreciate the email, Pharaoh. And it's amazing to me that I was able to have some kind of effect on you, as you mentioned there. That's awesome, man. So good luck on your album. Let me know when that shit's done. We'll play some of it on the podcast here. All right, next email is from Kent. Yo, Wax. Been listening. There's a lot of praise here, huh? All right, whatever. Been listening to your music since Scrub Life and the podcast for only a few months, but this is the first time I've written in. And I decided to email you because on last week's podcast, you talk about how you got glasses, and it was amazing. I got a couple glasses emails this time. Dude, same exact fucking thing happened to me a year ago. I knew I was going blind and went in for an eye check and got glasses. I can't fucking... This Denny's is killing me. It was glorious. Your example about seeing faces down the street or down a hallway is spot on. It's so much easier being nice and personable when you can fucking see. The thing that really made me notice how blind I was when I would look at trees. I could see all the individual leaves and branches on the trees. It was amazing. I had no idea people saw the actual leaves of trees. And not just a greenish-brown blur upon the top of the tree trunk. Also, you'll get used to the weird little glitches, like how you look at the ground and seem taller, or it might seem curved like a globe. But I digress. My question for you is, whatever happened to the joint album you, Dumb, and Breezy did together? I was listening to old podcasts, and I think it's number 46, where you had those two on the podcast because y'all were in a beach house together making an album. I can't find that anywhere. Did or when will that come out, if at all? Anyway, man, I'm excited for your album. Keep up the good work and keep doing the podcast. I don't think you realize how much some of us love listening to the podcast. Well, Kent, to address your last point, I'm very sorry that I haven't been doing the podcast the last couple weeks. I want to sit here and tell you, I'm going to change. I'm going to do the podcast all the time, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if that's true. I'm going to really make a hard attempt. Me and my manager have been talking about maybe even like trying to take the podcast to a new level, man. You know? Trying to make it more, or even more like a radio show, and even more, maybe more something that's filmed and something for YouTube, something with guests, something that's more produced. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. It'd still be like off the cuff, all fun shit, but it just be... I think really the purpose would be so it's like if I had a time and place I had to be every week to do it, rather than like the only person out there that decides if there's going to be a podcast this week is myself. Like, I need somebody else to help me. I need somebody else involved in the making of Wax's podcast. Because if it's just me, you know, like I told you guys, to do stand-up comedy, I had to take a stand-up comedy class. Not because I think I didn't take a class because I necessarily thought that I'd need a class to know how to do it. I think I need a class because I need a time and place that somebody forces me to be there every week. So I'll do it, because if I didn't, I just would never do it. So I need something similar to that for the podcast, and me and Brian are trying to figure something like that out. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you guys updated. As far as me and Breezy and Dumb's album, yeah, the shit's done. We finished it, you know, a while ago, and we have been talking about putting it out, and we're going to put it out. We're just trying to figure out when. We should just put it out goddamn tomorrow, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I won't address the glasses yet because I had another thing about it. This is another email. This one's from, thanks, Kent. Further address the glasses thing in this. You didn't really ask me a question, but I appreciate you sympathizing with me on that. This is from Doma Logic from the UK. What's good, Wax? Been listening since episode 1, but never bothered to email because I'm a lazy fuck and I just enjoyed listening. Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've never emailed nobody from it too, so I can understand that, but I appreciate the email. However, last week's episode, you spoke about getting glasses and shit. Ever since then, my eyes have been constantly blurry. I'm forever trying to refocus my vision. What kind of black magic have you cast upon my eyes? Anyways, apart from feeling smart and less creepy, are they not annoying to wear? And what are the disadvantages of having glasses? Keep doing your shit anyways, and I look forward to your new work. Well, since whatever podcast, podcast 86, so it's been about 2 months since I've had these glasses. So I'm now a pretty full-time glasses wearer. There's still some days that I don't wear them, and I really notice the difference now. Some days I don't wear them just because feel like fucking wearing them, or I'm still self-conscious. I'll be honest, maybe I'm still weirdly self-conscious about it. Maybe in some situations I like wearing my glasses. Like if I go into some kind of businessy shit, I feel like I'm at an advantage when I wear my glasses, huh? Am I right? But let me see. Kent was pretty much praising how awesome glasses are and how amazing it is to see clear. And, I'm actually over that. Now I'm fucking jaded. Now I'm just spoiled. Now I'm just like, what do you mean see clear? I always see clear. I'm 20/20 at all times. So I've moved beyond that. Now I'm used to it. So what's annoying about it, the only thing that's really annoying about it is when you do forget them and you kind of regret. You're just like, if you forget your glasses somewhere, which I still do because I'm not 100% used to like that being a thing I remember. Like the way your wallet and your keys are. Like my glasses are still not quite yet something that I just always remember. But it's getting to be more and more so just because I'm like, oh, wait, I can't see for shit. Oh, I need my glasses. Other disadvantages. Dude, if you wear glasses, if you try to kiss a girl, it'll get in the way. Like the shit actually gets in the, especially maybe it's the specific glasses I have. They're kind of thick. Like it can actually physically get in the way of certain activities, certain types of like eating and shit like that. Can get in the way. Smart. That's really not annoying. They will. God damn it. My whole body's dry. Stomach is a pool of molasses. What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, they'll leave like little marks on your nose, but that's not really a big deal. Yeah, I'd recommend them, man. I'd recommend glasses. I would if you can't see. Fucking genius, right? All right. This next one is from Muyo. Muyo. Hey, Wax, so I went through a disgusting breakup recently. Ooh. The girl I've been with for over 2 years said she doesn't love me anymore. She said she needed time. So I gave her time, and during that time she met someone else and is with him now. Damn. Anyway, I wanted to ask if it's okay if I do a German version of your song No More Love Songs. I'm not a musician or anything and don't plan to use it for anything commercially. I just feel like it's something I gotta do because of the breakup, even though it's probably gonna suck since I can't really sing. I might upload it to YouTube at some point, but that's it. I'd credit you, of course. I know I could have done this without asking. You'd probably never have found out, but it just doesn't feel right not to ask. I'm not going to translate the song, but I might keep the gist of the chorus and the bridge. I want to write my own lyrics, but use the same melody basically. I'll send it to you when it's done. Well, as I said in the email, you go right ahead and do that. I know the email was like fucking 2 months after you sent that. So who knows what's going on in your life at this point. But, oh, you said, P.S. I know for a fact that the girl is moving to my city in about 1.5 years. Suppose she's single by then. Do you think it's a good idea to give it another go with her? Nothing really bad happened between us. I think she just couldn't handle a long-distance relationship anymore. Yeah, first of all, go ahead and do whatever you want with the song, man. It's all good. Post it, don't post it. Translate it, don't translate it. Yeah, I do prefer that you give me credit. That's it. Just be like, this is Wax's song. That's fine. As far as should you get back with her if she moves back to your city, just you asking that question shows that you still have feelings for her. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know, because it's natural. Especially, it sounds like you might be younger and it might have been kind of like an early in your life long relationship. I mean, you said you've been with her for over 2 years. That's a pretty long relationship for anybody. And if that's your first one that was that long, that can come with a lot of fucking heartbreak, man. Trust me. Trust me, man. I've fucking been there, man. Fuck! Where are you, Linda? It's like her name wasn't Linda, but I certainly can relate to long extended periods of heartbreak. I've had that happen to me many times. And the first one was probably the roughest. First one was the roughest. Yeah, man, I don't know. What do I know, man? Maybe she'll come back to you, and then she'll be your wife until you're 90 years old. I have no idea. can tell you that that's never happened to me. Y'all, I always end up getting back with my fucking long-term girlfriends after we break up. That always happens to me, and it never, ever, ever, ever ends well. Especially if either of you have been with another person since, because there's always going to be that weird jealousy going on there. So it's very rare that something like that would work out. I just don't want to I don't want to be the one to tell you not to try. Maybe if you try and it doesn't work out, that'll actually even be better for you in the long run as far as like a life lesson learned. So, yeah, man, go for it. I mean, at the very least you can get laid, am I right? Why do I do this podcast? All right, last letter of the day is an interesting one. This one's from Dookie Brains. Dear Wax, how do you get people to give a shit about the content you produce? I produce music and create art and some other shit. And literally nobody ever pay attention to what I upload on any social media website. Help or I might tear my own dick off. That's the whole entire letter from Dookie Brains. How do people give a shit about the content you produce? I produce music and create art and some other shit. And literally nobody will pay attention to what I upload on any social media website. Help or I might tear my own dick off. That's the whole thing, y'all. And I'll tell you what I think about what you're saying. First of all, it'd be God damn, my mouth and throat is like it's like just a desert wasteland. It literally feels like there's sand in my mouth and throat. And I think that's because of the amount of sugar and salt I just put in my body at Denny's. There's a reason why I keep harping on this Denny's thing. And some of you guys are like, what? You can't handle a Grand Slam? And I ate a lot there. I ate more than one meal at Denny's. There was a reason for it. But I ate way too much at Denny's, and my entire body is feeling the effect. Especially right now after talking this long, my throat, lips, tongue, and mouth in general. It feels so dry, and I apologize for keep clearing my throat and cracking my lips. God damn. Maybe I'm getting sick, man. I don't know what's going on, but... Okay, in order to answer this question, I would have to know what your music was. I would have to, first of all, give you a flat-out honest opinion on your music itself, because if your music is nothing special, I'm not saying it's not, because there's a lot of great stuff out there, art and music, that goes unnoticed. That absolutely happens. And there's something to be said about promotion, and there's something to be said about clever ways of getting people to hear your stuff, but the fact is that there's a gazillion people, and that's a scientific measurement. There's actually approaching 2 gazillion people on the internet now that make music. So in order to stand out from the crowd in this day and age, if you're rapping or making beats or making rock music or whatever you do, it's very difficult. You have to have something special and something original, or you have to have the machine behind you, or you have to have one big, huge hit, or you have to be really attractive, or you have to have something about you that makes you stand out from the crowd, because people don't have time. People don't have time to listen to everything. They're only going to listen to stuff that really, really draws their attention. So I'd have to really listen to your music to give you real advice, but I'm just trying to tell you right now that it's very hard when there's a million different things to look at the same time. You know, that's why a big thing right now is playlists, because it's impossible to sift through all this stuff. You need somebody to curate and tell you what to listen to, somebody whose opinion you trust. So, you know, maybe that's a side thing. Maybe that's some advice to try to get on some of those playlists. I have no idea how to do that. But, you know, it's hard to stand out in a big-ass crowd. If you're a grain of sand, and you're hanging out at the beach, do you expect people to notice you? Now, if you're a grain of sand and you're hanging out, where would a grain of sand be? Individual, like, I don't know, on a recently cleaned marble countertop, you might be noticed. You know, gotta be different in your surroundings, I guess. But what I really want to say is, please don't tear your own dick off. Nobody needs that to happen to you, man. And especially you. You don't need that, man. Nobody does. Be safe out there.